Hey everyone, Temporal here, and today I'm going to be covering Sombra GOATS. I will be treating this as if the Briggs has been swapped out for the Sombra, as that is what I see happen most of the time when this variant of GOATS is run. I do like this variant. It's got more flexibility than some of the others, in that it has a pretty good matchup against both other GOATS comps and against dive comps. When looking at it from a what we give up versus what we get back perspective, specifically in the GOATS matchup, you're giving up raw bulk, the ease of use of some of those on-demand bash combos, though we do still have the ability to do something similar to those bash combos with hack. You can really accomplish much the same thing. It's harder to get the hack off, though, on exactly who you want at that exact correct moment, but the second piece of the combo then becomes more forgiving. Against dive comps, on the other hand, you could say your peel value drops a little bit. You don't have that third healer. You have less total armor, which dive does poor against. And there's windows where they can potentially punish you in 6v5s. But you do gain the ability to lock down a Doomfist or Hammond. And that's pretty important against dive, because dive really doesn't have a way to win against GOATS variants most of the time, unless they have either a Doomfist or ults available. Blocking out a Doomfist, no bueno for them. Against all comps, you gain the ability to block specific ults in engagements. You get better scouting, better map control. You now have some crossfire options, and that Sombra can be on a flank, behind them, on high ground, etc. And you get an ult upgrade, because EMP is just a fantastic ult. Looking at Sombra GOATS versus dive, you specifically want to take engagements in one of two different ways. The first, and probably the more common, is going to be that you play your Sombra defensively. She sits stealthed a little outside the death ball so that spam isn't going to force her out of stealth, and then when the opponents dive, she unstealths and she hacks the most ability dependent hero. Usually in order, that's going to be Doomfist, Hammond, Genji. Your team then goes ahead and punishes that hero who's now stuck in the middle of their dive without abilities. They find that kill and they clean up the rest from there pretty easily. The other way to play the comp would be that you scout with your Sombra and you notice a diver is setting up on low ground, a little too close to your group. So at that point, Sombra can start to hack. Maybe it's a low ground Winston, maybe it's a low ground Diva, whatever. And while she's hacking that tank, she can call for her team to come punish. So they'll amped speed boost over to go punish onto that hacked target. This is going to go down a couple ways. Either that hacked target can't get out and they die. That's fantastic. Another option would be the dive team's Lucio uses his speed boost amp and gets his friend out of there. So now you've set back their dive. They have to reset up their dive. You didn't get the kill, but that's okay. You get to go either take objective progress as you wander over to the point, or you get to go set up for their next push, because they're going to have to reset up. You've burnt their time off the clock. They're going to take a little bit more before they can dive you again. The third option, and this is the one that you have to watch out for, is they dive you. So effectively, the tank on low ground was bait. You went to go punish it, and they're set up in such a way that they can dive onto you, and they think they can get value out of that. The way to make sure that doesn't happen is to understand where their Doomfist is. I am assuming you're playing into a Doomfist variant here, of course. If you're not playing into a Doomfist variant, it's really about controlling which ults can come out. But basically, you want to make sure that when you're going after this target that you've hacked that you think is too close to you and you can go punish, that the rest of their flankers aren't set up in a way where they have proper map control to cleanly dive onto their own tank there. Doomfist, for example, is very limited in where he can dive to and from. That's much of why a lot of teams struggle with him. So if they're not set up, you go push them back where you go kill them. If they are set up in such a way that it's actually a trap, they can dive on top of their tank and they want to take that fight, that's fine. You just don't go do it. You're perfectly fine reverting back to your more passive style and either pushing point, having that create the pressure that they have to dive you, or going and waiting, defending the point, etc. If you want to beat Sombra GOATS as dive, I'd recommend swapping in both Doomfist and Hammond. That's going to work out well because Sombra can't hack both of those. She's going to have to choose to lock down one of them. It'll usually be Doomfist, and that's going to give your Hammond free reign to be super disruptive and to get a stupid large amount of health with his adaptive shield there. So what you end up doing, you execute your dive, she catches your Doomfist with a hack, your Hammond makes chaos while you hard pocket your Doomfist. You know your Doomfist is going to hack, so your Anna prioritizes him, and your Lucio comes in with Speed Aura to help get him out. You then keep him alive until his hack comes out. He re-engages, and you should be able to win the fight if you didn't lose anyone, because your Hammond helped make that distraction once the hack is worn off, but before Sombra has hack available again. If Doomfist can find a kill or two in that time, you can go ahead and swing the fight in your favor. It's also perfectly reasonable as a dive comp fighting into Sombra Goats to go hunt for their translocator. You go find their translocator and destroy it. You then know that you have a temporary advantage and you can force the fight. Whereas they can't do the same because you're the more mobile comp. If they destroy your Sombra's translocator, no big deal. You can all just leave. You don't have to take that fight because you're the more mobile comp. In Sombra Goats versus Goats, you can use that hack in place of bash combos, like we talked about here. It's not as on demand, though. Since you're not always going to get exactly what you want, you do lose some power there. But on the flip side, you can get pretty easy backline hacks. Those aren't super valuable when we're playing outside of ults. When we have ults, that changes things. But a hack on Lucio does mean that the opponents can't disengage if you think you have a favorable fight. And a hack on Anna takes away some serious ability power. She can't nade, she can't sleep. That's a big deal. That's why you bring Anna along. Zen or Moira hacks, on the other hand, really not going to do much unless they have ults up that you're trying to lock out. The problem with them is that Sombra's not going to be able to force a kill onto a backliner alone against a Goats comp. There's too much peel. They have another backliner with them, and she's not going to get much help at all from her friends when she's running in a Goats comp. So generally, you don't want to be trying to force backline kills as Sombra when playing in a Goats versus Goats matchup. Instead, what you want to do is put pressure on their front line with your damage, but mainly you're looking to be farming EMPs as quickly as possible. So you're looking to farm their tank line, build up quick EMPs. In that same manner, you can do that during a brawl. You can also, against most variants of Goats, just follow around a Goats comp as they're rotating and farm them pretty hard with Sombra. Some variants, if you're playing into a variant that's using Zen, it might be able to push you back a little faster. If you're running into variants that have extra CC, they may be able to punish you. But if you respect distances and don't overstay your welcome, you can mostly get a lot of EMP charge catching them in rotation, and you can also get a lot from crossfire by focusing their tanks. Building EMP is really important with Sombra in the Goats matchup, simply because EMP will win you just about any fight against Goats. They have to stack really tightly, so you get huge EMPs. The thing that you do want to watch out for is if you EMP a fully pre-rallied team, they have enough armor that they have a decent chance of being able to sustain long enough through your EMP that as soon as it wears off, they can pop a support ult and be back in it. So if a team is pre-rallied, go ahead and brawl some of that armor off before you commit your EMP, or be ready to commit a second ult as cleanup for that EMP there. And then, of course, the thing that Sombra brings to any comp is if your ult tracking is good, and let's say, for example, you know that your opponents have Nano, Grav, and Sound Barrier, well, you have Bigger Bang. A hack on Zarya at the beginning of the fight is going to mess up their play and give your Zarya a bigger window to make her play. That could mean a bigger Grav. It could mean Grav not being eaten. Those are important. Instead of having to super wrestle for who wins that fight, you've got a nice window where your Zarya can find exactly what she wants. So how you're looking to play the Sombra, specifically in Sombra Goats versus Goats, is going to be get a hack that enables a hack combo, bash combo, however we want to think about it. After you've gotten that hack off, go ahead and farm their front line. And if it's more of an ult fight that you're looking at, instead of having that open hack be for a hack combo, you can use that hack to disable a specific ult that you're worried about coming into play. If you're doing those things, you're going to do just fine, and then you're going to get extra fight wins from your EMP. So that's what you're looking to do. So if you have any questions, do feel free to let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them. If you're watching on Twitch, you can put them there, and I'll go live in just a minute to answer them. If you're watching on YouTube, you can, of course, leave questions in comments. Thanks, guys. Temporal out.